So we're moving on to the Reserve Cabernet from 2009.
That's correct. Yeah, there you are. So 2009, now we're in a favorable, ripe, long hang time, great warm season, great vintage for Cabernet. Yep.
And we were discussing when we were outside that there's lower slopes, mid-slope, upper slopes. Where does the fruit typically come from for the Reserve Cab?
You know, this Reserve Cab, with our owner's commitment to making great Cabernet, with our Trésor program being a meritage blend, and this being sort of our signature Cabernet now. This is a very new program for us, the Reserve Cabernet. We've had a Reserve Chardonnay for a long, long time. It has great notoriety. So we've jumped in with Cabernet, with the Reserve Cab. The regular Cabernet, or our Ferrari Carano Cabernet, would come from the lower slopes of the mountain. This would come from elevation roughly 700 feet and above. So we're talking that fog line and up, where we get into that rocky, gravelly, thinner soil, more mountainous terrain. And this wine, again, it has to have that intensity that says it's a true Reserve Cabernet, for a hillside Cabernet especially. But in 2009, we do have a softer tannin profile. We have some really ripe fruit.
It's interesting, though, it does not have the fruity character that a valley floor wine sort of gives it. You smell it, and you think a little bit of hillside fruit and mountain fruit. It smells a little meaner and less fruity, more complex and savory.
Yeah, absolutely. We blend a tiny bit of Syrah in here, but I think what you're tasting with our Cabernets at this higher elevation is really an expression of sort of how much the vines struggle up here. You get a mineral, graphite, and if you get real ripe, you get that sort of road tar character. You get those dark, spicy characteristics as well. Very unique characteristics up at this elevation.
It's really interesting in the mouth because it's. I would expect the tannins to be harder based on the flavor profile. Mm-hmm. The tannins are pretty supple, but the wine is definitely a muscular, complex flavor profile. Can you talk a little bit about the barrel regimen here and
sure,
and how we're getting this suppleness?
Absolutely. The barrel profile for our Reserve Cabernet, again, largely dependent on French oak. There's small amounts of Eastern European.
All barrique?
All barrique, all 60-gallon barrique, correct. Aging is for 24 months. This one gets an extended time in barrel. We are getting an oak profile that, again, accentuates some of that spicy minerality. I like some of the barrels that don't add as much wood tannin. So we have, in some sense, a longer toast. So we've got plenty of tannin in our Cabernet. We don't need our barrels adding significantly more tannin, especially any greener, harsher, or more intense tannin. So the barrels are definitely nuance of coffee, mocha, dark chocolate, that sort of thing, to give a darker perception to this wine. This is our darker, more brooding version of Cabernet, and the oak profile definitely aims to accentuate that. There's still nice viscous mouthfeel. Again, 2009 being a riper vintage, we have a little bit higher alcohol for some of that viscosity, and tannins are significantly riper. So as you said, it's a little softer and prettier on the palate than one would think by smelling sort of the intensity of the aroma.
Is this what you hope the Reserve Cab to be?
Every year.
Every year, but it's not. In 10 and 11, it's going to be a little different?
Well, there's none in 11, okay. And in 10, we end up with a little bit more of that muscular, angular tannin. At the same time, because of the use of a little Syrah, we're able to get some softer tannin in there. But the 10 is a little bit different in the sense that it's a more aggressive mouthfeel. Those wines will benefit from aging. This 2009 tastes beautiful right now. When we then jump into 2012 and 13, I expect very smooth sailing and very similar vintage to 2009.
Interesting. And what was the first vintage of the Reserve Cab?
2008.
2008. So this is brand new.
Yep.
And where are we at production levels on this wine?
So production levels, we're headed upward, and we're trying, again, sold in 6-packs with this wine, but our goal is to hit 10,000 6-packs. So
it's still a fairly small production wine.
No, we have such small yields up here in the hills that we just don't have the ability to crank out, massive bottling that'll be in, New York City, Miami, San Diego, and Seattle. We just don't have the ability to hit all those areas with volume. We own our Cabernet up here in the hills, and at 1.5 tons to max 2 tons an acre, that's our goal. We've set that as a goal, to have 10,000 6-packs of fantastic Cabernet.
And the price for this?
Price is $47.
47 or $46. $46. I think it's a very fair price for the quality of the wine. You don't get a lot of Cabernet under $50. It's like this. This is a serious
Yeah, and
wine.
we have a sort of a list of Napa calves and our neighbor Alexander Valley calves that we think we've got a great product for the money. In fact, I think we have a superior Cabernet for the money than a lot of people would charge sometimes $100 for, and we think this is a very fair value, and it's definitely a program that we're very proud of.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who would agree with